Welcome to the Full Dive Gaming Podcast, bringing you a full dive of all the news, discussion, insights you need for virtual reality gaming. This podcast is brought to you by Asterion Products, a top-selling company on Amazon designing great products for VR and AR, including their beautiful Asterion Aura VR headset stand. I'm Jay Bratt, a VR YouTuber and streamer.
I'm Nat Bratt, a VR lover who is excited for Animazement.
For those of you out there who are like, what is Animazement? Yeah, we actually have been invited to go to an anime convention in North Carolina here in a few months. It sounds like they're going to be taking us out there to show off some VR and do some cool stuff. So we're pretty excited. We'll have a podcast episode, of course, covering that. And you know what our podcast is about. We're here to keep you up to date in the VR realm. We answer questions from our communities. We tell you about the latest, greatest VR news. Then we discuss the games we've been checking out. If you're listening right now and you haven't checked out our YouTube, check it out if you want to see our actual faces and vice versa. You can always hang out and, tell us what you like. Comment on YouTube. It's not like you can comment on the podcast anywhere else. Now, we got some interesting questions this week. Shafedog, first of all, asked after that wild episode last week, did you get demonetized after the last episode? So to clear up a question there, so when people say demonetized, they usually mean YouTube. But on YouTube, we don't have 1,000 subscribers, so we're actually not monetized on YouTube. This podcast is monetized. Podcast is monetized through contributions on Patreon from all of you, and of course through our great sponsor. And our sponsor listened to the episode and actually loved it. So they said they liked the laughs, they enjoyed the guests. But Shafedog also asked, after a few more nuggets dropping from the Gamers Development Conference, what's your level of PSVR 2 anticipation? So 1 to 10, Nat, where are you feeling on PSVR 2?
Oh my gosh, 9. I'm very excited.
It's good. I'm very excited. I'd still give it about an 8. I'm still a little worried about the cord and how people are going to receive that as, a modern VR headset. But 8 or 9, I'm definitely up there with you. Scarlet Ibis asks, is there a metaverse that currently exists that you enjoy hanging out in? Some metaverses that do exist, it's not the metaverse, but Rec Room, VR Chat, Second Life. What is that? What is that in one?
Does Second Life count? It's not in VR.
Second Life,
does that still count?
It doesn't matter if it's not in VR. It's technically a metaverse.
Oh.
It's a virtual, full-on world where people can do everything they do in real life. Nat, What do you think?
I haven't been in VR Chat much, but I feel like probably VR Chat, just because there's more possibilities and stuff. Like Rec Room is a little cartoony still, I feel like. So even though I haven't been in VR Chat much, I guess VR Chat.
Yeah, VR Chat definitely you can get a little bit more realism than Rec Room. But Rec Room has a lot of cool things going on now where people who create stuff can sell it in-game to other people, and they can actually get in-game currency and then use that to buy things. So Rec Room's got some interesting stuff going on as far as trying to create a full-on real metaverse that might get tied into the bigger picture. So
also for those of you that are just listening and are not watching the podcast on YouTube, Jay has some VR like pistol thingies attached to his Quest controllers and is just like waving them around.
They're just kind of fun to play with, I realized. I'm not very good at doing the spins because the weight's all off. It's not like a real gun, but I'm having a good time over here.
Oh my gosh.
Scarlet Ibis also asked us, what niche do you see PSVR 2 going into? I see it as being kind of in between the very low-cost Quest and the high-end headsets like the Index. Nat, what do you think?
I think it's going to be kind of hard to say because I feel like it's going to have, I don't know. I feel like that's a tough one. Like, I guess it's going more into the like low cost Quest type route, but it's not as accessible because you have to also have a PS5, I'm guessing.
Seems to be so far.
Yeah, it doesn't put it quite in the realm of like the really high end headsets because you don't have to have like a super fancy PC, but you do have to have a PS5, which is pretty spendy. So yeah. And it's also, looking at the specs, it seems like it's going to be higher quality than the Quest. So I guess it's kind of low end, high end is what it kind of seems like it's going to be. Or maybe it's kind of like PC headset quality, but with a console.
Yeah, I think that the PS5 is capable of pushing most games in VR that VR games currently are made to reach. And let me explain that statement a little bit, because people will be like, oh, there's PCs are way stronger than PS5. The problem is PC VR games have to be designed in a way that they can run at the minimum specs that are still considered for most VR headsets, which is usually a 1060, a 1070, somewhere in there, which is getting to be a pretty old graphics card now. So even the strongest of games, some of the craziest games like Half-Life Alyx would pretty easily play on the PSVR 2 with the PS5 powering it. The only things that might not is like Microsoft Flight Simulator is something that probably wouldn't run. So for the most part, I think the PS5 could run everything we have right now in PC VR and do it fine on the PSVR 2. The price is really going to define where this thing lands. But I would say what we're seeing from the PSVR 2, it looks like they'll probably do the same thing they did with the 1. Some of the specs won't be the most modern, but they're going to be counting on other factors to make it just as good as every other headset out there, or at least really close. So we covered it a bit more in the news section. There's a little bit of news coming out about PSVR 2 as it is at the Game Developers Conference. So we'll revisit that in the news. But first, of course, before we jump fully into the news, I got to tell you, our sponsor is Asterion Products. They treat us amazing. So if you need a VR stand, go out and treat them amazing. Check them out on Amazon, the Asterion Aura VR headset stand. They have their Asterion Origins mat, which is quickly becoming one of the big mats for some of the top Echo VR players in the country right now. Pretty exciting stuff going on with them. Go on Amazon, code FULLDIVE10 gets you 10% off anything Asterion products. And trust me, you will not regret getting something from them, because they only make their own products. They only make high quality ones. And I actually have 3 of them on my desk in front of me right now.
Do you want to show one really quick, or would that be too much work?
It's off to the side. It's my other 2 are taped to the desk. I guess I could try to move my camera. For those of you who are listening, this isn't gonna. No, this isn't gonna work. No, I put my camera on an actual multi-stand, and so now it's a lot harder to turn than it used to be. Well, that's enough digressing there. Let's talk about GDC and the PSVR 2. So Sony has brought the PSVR 2, or at least a development kit, something, to the Game Developers Conference. But this is not normal. They aren't just letting everyone in and test it. This isn't some wide open demo. They are letting people, it seems like under NDAs, specifically game developers, come in and check it out. So earlier today, Chet Falzak, a Valve veteran, actually described the tech demo he was checking out so good. He says, where the world just feels different when you return, talking about the experience that they had in there. And of course, they're under NDA, so they can't give specifics, but another quote from them, they said, performance and immersion goes beyond resolution. The numbers certainly matter, but the whole is definitely greater than the sum, which is actually an interesting statement, because PSVR 1, there was several big outlets and things that said that it was greater than the sum of its parts.
Yes.
So it sounds like PSVR 2 is going for exactly the same thing, which has me excited. The last things they talked about here in the quote, they said, haptics make a bigger impact than you realize. Think about the first time you experienced DualSense. Now consider it in the context of VR. Nat, what do you think about that?
Oh my gosh. I feel like this is kind of what we've been talking about the whole time. Like, I think sometimes people forget what a big deal haptics are. It adds so much to the experience. And I feel like that's a good comparison when you think about like the DualShock controllers, because it seems, and I think when those came out, people were like, oh, that's kind of hokey, but it really adds so much even to your flat gaming experience. And I've been kind of noticing that, just, been playing a couple little flat games here and there, and it really does add to it when like something's going on. It just brings you in more. So yeah, just thinking of how much more that adds to immersion when you're actually in VR and it's in the headset, like all around you. I'm just so excited. And it's interesting too to see. So this person's a Valve person.
Valve
so that's
veteran.
So they've played the Valve a lot, or they've done game developing for Valve. So someone that's, experience the other headsets and saying that the PSVR 2 is a really good experience. That's I'm not surprised. But it is exciting. I am just so excited to check this out. And like we've said other times leading up to this, that it was amazing what Sony did with the PSVR 1 with like all these kind of old tech things that they were bringing together, and how amazing like they did a lot of things to make it the best it could be. And with these better specs, seeing how amazing that's going to be, I'm really excited.
Yeah, I absolutely am too. And the last thing they said was stop sweating about the wire. It'll disappear once you start playing, and unless you're spinning in circles or something. So obviously meaning that most games in VR, you're not meant to be just spinning in place. You're meant to be playing the game in a forward motion, propelling yourself forward. So they're saying, don't worry about the cable. It's not going to make that much of a difference. I'm super excited about all this. I've been looking forward to PSVR 2. And I do think people are hating on the wire pretty hard. And I understand because most people don't want to have to worry about a wire. If they're getting into VR, your average consumer doesn't want to deal with that. But it sounds like the PSVR 2 is going to work so well with what it's doing that it's probably still going to be mostly for people like us who already like VR, who are into VR and who want to continue our journey. And still a lot of people will probably be flocking to the Quest for years to come because it's wireless. But it sounds like for those of us who had a PSVR 1, or if you still have a PSVR 1, it's going to be a serious upgrade.
Also, so, we have a cat making an appearance over here. So
yeah, Libby's trying to distract me from the task at hand here. Well, speaking of the Quest, we have some interesting news about it. So Oculus has kind of said through Twitter and stuff, I guess it's not Oculus anymore, Meta has kind of said through Twitter and stuff that they may be improving the recording tools on the Quest, which is huge and amazing news to all of us, because anyone who is a content creator and deals with the Quest, it is an absolute nuisance. If you don't, basically, if you record on the Quest, you don't get a nice 16:9 video like people are used to seeing on YouTube. You get a square video in low resolution that is in 30 frames per second, nothing like what you're seeing inside the headset. So to try and translate that as a content creator to a game is just, it's tough. It's hard to show people how much fun you're having and how it really looks, because it looks like to them you're playing some crappy old Wii game or something. Yeah, they said it's a top priority right now for their team to deliver on this year, and they're excited to get their hands something to us. But there's a high chance for April or May. It's a little bit of hearsay. I mean, this is a Twitter news feed, but Upload VR did report on this because it's substantial enough that it sounds like something's coming. And as a Quest content creator on occasion, I will tell you this is very welcome news. If they would just make a way to stream it, though, that's another area. That's another area where PSVR is going to win. I mean, still.
Oh yeah.
They just make it so much easier to just upload directly from the PS5 to stream directly from it.
Yep.
Yeah. We need more for Quest. We need better. Do you want to come here, Kat? Do you want to come here or not? You are being a nuisance. Yeah. And what do you think? I mean, I don't know if recording means anything better, but if they do anything for the casting, tell people who haven't ever tried, what is sharing the experience of a Quest like on a TV locally in the room?
It is super annoying. It is like, I mean, I guess it's not too hard because like they have the like record thing that it is not super easy because you have to like go into like the section in the, I don't know, where there's
you have to get in the menu
settings and stuff. Yeah.
Yep.
Menu,
inside
that's
the
what
Quest.
that's called. And then once you get there, it's pretty easy. Like you just click on the little record thing. But then a lot of times it'll eventually make your game a little bit slower. You'll have little glitches here and there because it's like having to work really hard. And you also, don't you have to have like Google Cast thing or something? Like it doesn't just cast easily.
Casting it to a TV, if you're casting it, not recording it, you have to have a Chromecast.
Yeah.
Or you can go to oculus.com/casting on a PC, or you can cast it to your phone. But depending on your internet speed, how your Wi-Fi is in your house, I mean,
it does not look good.
Yeah, it's not looking good. You got an audio delay. You're showing people people outside. You want to show them what their friends seeing in VR. You're showing them like a 10 frames per second.
Yeah, it's
look
bad.
of this all jittery.
And sometimes it'll just like stop. It'll be like, like not the sound, but like that's what you're looking at. Like it looks terrible. And people are like, and you're trying to like show them a cool game or something, and they're like, what?
Yeah,
it's not a good experience.
And that's and someone's thing. In it. Go ahead.
Yeah, someone's in it. You're trying to help walk them through it, and you're like, I'm not really sure where you're at right now. Terrible. And yeah, I have to say, this makes me think again about PSVR. Like they did an amazing job in PSVR 1 of making it very like easy to play with others. Like they had some games that are like designed for some people to be outside of VR and some people inside VR. It just goes right onto the TV and makes it really easy. So if you're working or you're playing with someone or you're showing someone a game, it's super easy. You don't have to go through any extra steps. It's just part of it. So yeah, there's just so many upsides to PSVR. I'm super excited for PSVR 2. And I know people are still going to get the Quest because it's just easy and that price point and everything. But man, I feel like they might start having to up their game a little bit, at least for people that already have PS5s.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where this year takes us, and maybe if there's some sort of meta announcements of what's coming from them next too. But I definitely think as far as if you're a content creator, you are someone who just wants a simple, easy, put it on, play it VR experience, PSVR 2 is going to bring a lot to the table. And a lot of times people don't talk about those things when it comes to, what's new tech. They talk about the specs and what kind of power it has and what it can drive. But people forget one of the reasons the iPhone is one of the biggest phones in America is because it's just easy. It's super user friendly. People from the age of freaking 4 to the age of 400 can use an iPhone just fine. It just works. And that's where VR can still be very tricky, can still be very hard to step into. And if you're talking a system where you just turn it on like a game console and it just works perfectly, the tracking is now inside out. You don't have to worry about what way you're facing, what's working. It's just easy. That's where PSVR 2 is probably going to win even more so than the Quest has, because the Quest made it a little more user-friendly, but it's still got its own bevy of problems you're always fighting, whether that's sharing the vision, whether it's setting up the Guardian, whether the Guardian's running from you. There's a lot.
Yeah, it's true.
Well, speaking of PSVR and Quest, we got a game that we played, but we got to talk about it. First, I got to tell you one more time, if you haven't gotten one by now, we've talked to you a million times about Asterion. How have you not? At least go look them up. Asterion products, Asterion Aura. You can go to AsterionProducts.com. It's in the show notes. It's in the description. You can go there and use code FULLDIVE for $5 off any order of $19.99 or more, whether that's a stand for your gaming headphones, a stand for your VR headset, a mat for your VR play area. Check them out. They're great. We played a game called Stride, which has been out on PC in beta for a few years. I want to say it might have been early 2020. I don't actually remember. It was quite a while back. We talked about it on the podcast once. Then it came out on Quest, a better, more full-fledged game edition. Well, it launched on PSVR today, and Nat tried it today, but we both have played it on Quest. Keep that in mind. I watched a review about PSVR to see some of the differences. But Nat, what is Stride, if you had to describe it?
I feel like it's like a, oh my gosh. This is where I always run into, I can never find words.
Parkour.
Thank you. It's like a parkour simulator. That is what I would call it. You're running around, you're jumping off of walls and jumping like onto buildings and climbing, zip lining, and for some reason shooting people and dodging bullets. So like I guess it's like parkour plus danger, extra danger.
Yeah, it is people compare it to Mirror's Edge, if you've ever played that game, which is a very fast-paced parkour action game. And I kind of think their inspiration came from Mirror's Edge, and that may be the only reason they added this shooting sniper mechanic, because the shooting sniper mechanic is the one thing that kind of feels like, this isn't totally necessary. But basically, you start out the game, there's a pretty lengthy tutorial to teach you the mechanics, because to run, you have to hold a button and then simulate running with your arms. So you're moving your arms up and down like you're running, and that's what's propelling you through the game. Then if you want to jump to your next spot, you have to press a button that is the jump button, but it doesn't jump you like a normal jump on a game. You press that, and then when you lift your hands up, like you're jumping up with your hands really high, and you let go of that button, that then propels the jumping motion. And then you jump, of course, across a ledge or something, and you don't quite make the jump. You have to grab that ledge with the grip button and then pull yourself up and keep going. These are, of course, different buttons on the PSVR, which does sound like it makes it a little more complicated, but it is still the same style of game. It doesn't need analog sticks because all of your running is done by just aiming your head and moving your arms as you run. Nat, how did you do at getting used to the motion?
I actually really liked the mechanics to help with motion, preventing motion sickness, because you're doing things that simulate or you're actually moving in real life. So that helps your brain be like, okay, I'm actually moving. You're like moving your arm, so it's like you're actually running. And especially the jumping, I really liked that. I thought that helped a lot with not feeling like woozy with when in other games, if you just press like a button or something to jump, then your brain is like, what? Like I'm not actually moving, but I'm moving. And so that I really liked. Because you're actually like simulating a jumping motion. So that really helped with for me, I didn't really get motion sick unless I was like falling. So
Yeah, the
I thought
falling
that
is
was
probably
really
the
good.
one thing that you don't feel anymore, that you're still doing something. So if you're interested in this game out there, it is available on all platforms, Quest, PSVR, and PC. Although I can't confirm, because the last time I played on PC, it was still like an earlier version. They hadn't released this new build with these new mechanics. So the PC is kind of the one question. But as far as the PSVR footage I've seen now and playing it on Quest, they look to be the same version. And it is a really cool experience. You start off, and there's 3 different game modes. Endless run, which basically you just keep running as long as you can without dying. And what dying means is either falling off and losing enough time that this darkness catches up with you that you're running from. There's time trials. So you have, courses that you have to go through in a certain amount of time. And there is an arena mode, which actually probably feels the most unpolished. It was the most recent addition. And there is campaign mode coming. So still not out yet, TBD. But I think Endless Run is where the game truly shines, or the time trials, because you just feel like you're just free running through these building tops, occasionally shooting snipers who are trying to kill you. And it does feel like you're running from some benevolent force that's trying to get you, or from some people that are trying to catch you. And you're just doing everything you can to keep on propelling yourself forward. You run and you see a gap and you can choose, do I jump this gap? Do I wall run to the side and take a different path? Or if you see a zip line or a hook that you can shoot with your grappling hook, you can grab that. You have all these different paths that you can kind of choose how you play the game. And then every once in a while, you'll come up on a door. You have to open the door, run to a building, and then smash through a window, break the glass, and jump out the other side, which is probably one of the coolest things. And on it looked like on the PSVR footage you could see through the window, but on the Quest, when I was playing, you couldn't see through the windows. And so you'd smash your window having no idea what was on the other side. I kind of like that mystery. It was kind of exciting because you're like, I don't know what I'm going to catch on my way out of this to keep on moving forward. And then, of course, to keep the game going, there's upgrade systems. So you can get, a laser sight on your gun. You can get new skins for your weapons. You can get better health upgrades and things. There is things that keep you playing the game. And then, of course, the leaderboards to help you see, oh, my friend's here. I'm going to try and beat their score now. I'm going to try and keep going. But the one thing that you don't see advertised a lot about this game, there's definitely a fitness benefit to it. Nat, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it it depends on like how fast you're going through it, for sure, because I was getting a little sweaty playing the tutorial more because it tells you like what to do, kind of, where you're going. And definitely I think especially the jumping mechanic, you're basically doing like little squats like while you're going, and then you're moving your arms when you're running. So if you're going through it quick, that's definitely going to be some good movement in there. It's nice that it's getting like your whole body kind of in it, which I think we miss a lot of times with fitness games. They're very like arm focused. So this one is nice that it gets your lower body in there too. I I don't know that I had as much of the fitness aspect going when I did the actual I did a time trial, just because I hadn't played much of it yet. I only went through like 1 or 2 time trials, and because of the freedom that you're talking about, I didn't go through it as fast because I was like, wait, but where do I go? Am I supposed to go this way? Am I supposed to go that way? I'm not really sure. Am I supposed to wall run? Am I supposed to jump? If I try and jump, am I gonna fall? So for me, because I maybe overthink things a little bit, I didn't get as much of a fitness benefit doing the time trial because I was like, wait, I don't want to do it wrong. So I think if you're actually like, if you've played it some and you're really going through it quick, trying to, beat your friends with the time trial, it definitely would be good. Getting your heart rate up and all that.
Yeah, it gets you going. And it's just like Beat Saber. It's, how if you're in it for fitness, how accountable are you going to hold yourself to actually trying? Are you going to get to the point where you just kind of flick your wrists to make you run, or are you moving your whole arms and really getting into it like you're actually running? When it comes to the jumping points, you can actually do a little physical hop, and it even helped me when I was kind of having a hard time with the mechanics. Like, okay, how do I get this jump right? I found if I actually hopped when I let go of the buttons, it kind of reminded me, okay, this is how this is supposed to feel like a real jump, and then it actually works. So you can push yourself if you wanted to use this as part of a VR fitness program. You could definitely incorporate this game into that and probably get some cool scores and have some fun doing it.
That's a really good point, though, that you have to be actively trying to be active. Just like with Beat Saber, like if all you care about is the score, you may not be getting a great workout because you're just like with your wrists. And with this, if you just care about the score, it might be faster just with your wrists and, flick your little arms as quickly as you can without doing any actual squatting motion with your legs. So that's a really good point. Like if you're only focused on the score, you may not end up getting a good workout with this.
And I
definitely felt like I was getting a good workout, especially with the the squatting motion, because I thought that really helped get you into doing the right motion for the jump. And I was doing a full on I'm tensing all my muscles so I can get this really good jump, even though I'm not jumping for real.
Well, yeah, when you were testing out, I was down in my studio and it sounded like you were actually jumping upstairs when you were playing it. So we talked about what endless and time trials are. I'll briefly go into Arena, which you didn't get to check out, did you?
No.
Okay. No. So
I was scared that it would
definitely
be against people, so I didn't want to.
It kind of seems like it when you click on that. You think that's what it's going to be. Arena is definitely the part that seems kind of the most half-baked of the game. And I think that it needs some more work. Arena puts you in, as they say it's more like an arena type situation. It's not like a sports stadium arena, but it's still building tops, but it's in more of a big square shape. So you're now turning whichever way you want to go. You're going different paths, and you have missions like you have to go get a briefcase back, and there's a lot more people trying to shoot you on your way to get this briefcase. So you have to be a little more strategic, find points of cover, shoot these guys, get there in the time limit to get the briefcase. Or I think there's one where you're trying to defuse a bomb. I want to say it's been a long time since I played Arena, but I think that's like what they tell you you're doing. Really, you're just going from point A to point B over and over again in the arena. So it's a little extra something, but because it's in a square, you never feel like you get that flow of I'm really moving, I'm really jiving. It's like, oh, you run and stop, find a way to shoot, and then keep going again. Some people who get really good at might be able to get to a point where they're constantly moving, shooting, grabbing the packages, and never stopping. That would be impressive. I think that would take a lot of work. But no matter what mode you play, there is a learning curve to this game.
Oh,
you're going to miss your grabs when you jump. You're going to not do the wall run right. You're going to fall off, and you're going to get mad and have to go back and figure it out. But it's rewarding enough as you get better at it and you get faster and you move quickly through these levels that it starts to feel pretty cool. You get kind of that badass feeling like, oh, I'm really parkouring through this city, shooting these people flying around, and it's pretty fun. All that said, Nat, $15. What do you think?
I think that's definitely worth it. I think it's really fun. I tend to get super frustrated in games if I am falling a lot or messing up a lot. But in this game, I mostly just went through the tutorial, but the tutorial was really long, and I just thought it was super fun. Even I got a little bit stuck at this one point where you have to jump and then catch yourself, and I didn't realize at first that you're supposed to catch yourself. So I was like, okay, I just gotta really get this jump. That was probably when you heard me actually jumping in real life. But I didn't get annoyed. I was like, this is just too fun. It just feels cool. I like the games where there's motion where you're kind of going through the air, but they do it in a way where you don't have horrible motion sickness. I'm sure for some people this would probably be too much, but if you've done a lot of stuff in VR, you could probably handle it. And $15, that's a pretty low price point. I think that's worth it. I do think the graphics, at least on the Quest, don't look amazing. It does kind of look, even in the time trial, look kind of unpolished, but it doesn't really matter because you're just having fun.
Yeah, you're having a good time. For those of you out there who have the memory of an elephant and you've been following this podcast for absolutely ever, you may remember we actually talked about Stride when it first came out on PC back in the day, and I was not into it. So that is where I will warn you out there. If you're just on PC, you might want to verify. And I'll try and look it up, and I'll put some notes in the description too. You may want to verify that they've updated the PC version, because then we made a podcast talking again on the mini reviews that we do. Adam and I talked about after the Quest version had come out, which was a much more complete version. I was like, okay, this game is now worth it. I still don't know for sure if they've done that with PC or not. So that is a good question, and something that I'll find out and get up on there, because I do worry that if you go buy this on PC and guess what, you find out it's not the game you thought it was, you might be a little disappointed.
Yeah, I do also have to say, I feel like it would bring it up to the next level if they had some cool music. Like To the Top, I feel like that makes To the Top such a great game, and this game is really lacking in that area. I also feel like I wish there was an option to just not do the shooting part, because I feel like it's just unnecessary and kind of annoying. Kind of like you were saying, it kind of like interrupts the flow. Like, I just want to flow through this and jump and run and not have to stop and shoot a stupid person. I think that's just kind of annoying. I get a little annoyed with everything being a shooter though, so...
Yeah. So I just looked it up on Steam, and it says it is still technically in early access, but by the screenshots that they're showing on Steam now, it does look like they've updated the Steam version as well to a much more modern one. They even had a little winter update where there was snowmen on the rooftops and stuff. And the graphics they show on the PC version do look like it might actually be one of the best ways to play this game now. So it seems like they've caught up, but it is still technically early access, and it's only $11 right now on PC if you want to go get it. So some good news there that it's come along. I always really appreciate developers when they put something out and it's in beta or it's in early access and it's not there yet, and they listen to their community and they get it there before they fully launch it. Seems like this game is on its way. Yeah. Have you played Stride out there? Are you going to play it after hearing this? We'd love to know about it. You can come join the Discord. Tell us all about it there. We're all there hanging out. We got all the wild dudes from last week's podcast in there giving us trouble all the time. So you can come out and tell us. You can ask us questions like the questions we had tonight in the Q&A section. We actually had so many questions for this podcast. A few of them are going to have to be on the next one. So we got a little overloaded there. But you can also provide suggestions for things we play and what we talk about each podcast. Just chat about VR with all of us there. You want to take it a step further, become a supporter of this podcast on Patreon. We want to say a special thank you. The patrons are currently covering all the production costs of the podcast, which is really helpful. So there's no out-of-pocket podcast cost anymore for us. So thank you so much. Become a direct supporter if you want. Totally optional, but it does help a lot. And if you're listening, hey, come over to YouTube at once in a while. Say hey. You can comment there. You can see our faces. You can see the cat bothering me for practically the entire podcast tonight. Or other way around. If you only watch but you want to get more of the podcast, we're on iTunes, Spotify, Google, Overcast, Ghana, like everything I can think of.
Rate and review. Remember, rate and review.
We never say that here, but it actually does help the podcast. So if you're out there and you want to rate and give it a review, we'd love that. We have a few reviews floating on a few of them, but not nearly enough. So thank you for listening. And what do they got to do when it comes to VR, Nat?
Dive on in.
Dive on in.